Ellie Grant was 28 years old, but the memories of her childhood still sat heavy in her chest. She grew up in a small house with her mother and her older brother, Luke, after their father died in a car accident. Ellie had been only 4 then. She remembered almost nothing, just flashes of laughter, the feeling of strong arms lifting her into the air, and the way she used to squeal when her father caught her. But after his funeral, everything changed in ways her young mind could never understand. Their mother shut down emotionally, speaking less, smiling less, moving through life on some kind of autopilot. Yet somehow through all that grief she found endless attention for Luke. Ellie, meanwhile, blended into the background as if someone had dimmed the lights around her. Luke was 9 when their father died. Old enough, their mother insisted, to become the man of the house. Ellie, on the other hand, was just a child. And that simple difference shaped their lives. Things started small, little moments Ellie tried to ignore. But the first time she truly felt forgotten was when she was 7. She had a dance recital scheduled for the same day as Luke's soccer game. "Sweetheart, I can't go to both," her mother said that morning. Ellie remembered the tight knot in her stomach as she whispered, "You'll come to mine, right?" But their mother sighed. "Luke needs me at his game. He's the captain today." So Ellie sat backstage in her purple tutu, watching the other girls run into their mother's arms after their performances. Ellie kept checking the door, hoping her mother would surprise her. He never did. Miss Karen, her teacher, drove her home afterward. By the time Ellie turned 13, she had learned to celebrate her wins alone. That year she spent 5 long months building a small robot for the regional science fair. She read library books until they felt soft at the edges, watched hours of coding tutorials, and stayed up late wiring circuits with shaking hands. When she won first place out of dozens of students, she almost dropped the blue ribbon because she was trembling with excitement. "Mom, look," she said, running into the kitchen where her mother was helping Luke fill out college prep documents. "I won first place. I'm going to state." Her mother glanced at the ribbon the same way someone glances at a grocery list. "That's great, Ellie," she said, and turned back to Luke. Ellie stood there for another moment, pretending it didn't sting, then quietly carried her ribbon to her room and pinned it above her bed. The state competition was in April. Ellie placed 7th out of 200 students. He felt proud, nervous, shaking, but proud. But when she walked back into her empty hotel room after the ceremony, reality sank in. Her mother wasn't sitting in the audience. She wasn't holding a camera. She wasn't even in the same town. She had told Ellie she couldn't get time off work. But later, Ellie learned from Luke that their mother had taken the day off to help him move into his dorm for a summer program. Sitting in that hotel room bed, Ellie hugged her ribbon to her chest and whispered, "One day I'll matter to someone." She didn't know who that someone would be, but she knew it couldn't be the people who kept choosing Luke over her again and again. The pattern became painfully clear by the time Ellie was 16. That Christmas she had spent months walking dogs in the neighborhood to save money for gifts. She bought her mother a scarf she had admired in a store window and got Luke a card to his favorite restaurant. She even bought presents for her aunt, uncle, and cousin. When Christmas morning came, Luke opened gift after gift: a laptop, expensive clothes, concert tickets. He barely muttered thanks before setting up the laptop right on the floor. Ellie opened hers next, a $30 gift card and a pack of socks. The socks weren't even her size. She forced a smile when her mother said, "Be grateful, Ellie. Life is fair." But inside something sank, something small and important. It was the moment she realized fairness in her family never had anything to do with her. 2 years later, when Ellie began applying for colleges, she finally gathered the courage to ask her mother for help. She had worked incredibly hard in high school advanced math classes, robotics club, tutoring jobs, but she still couldn't cover all the costs of the tech school she had been accepted to. "Mom," she said one evening, standing in the doorway of the living room, "I got into Ridgeview Tech. It's a great program. I have a 70% scholarship, but I still need help with the rest." Her mother didn't even look up from her phone. "Ellie, I'm already helping Luke," she said. "He just graduated and needs help with rent until he gets on his feet." Ellie swallowed hard. "But what about me?" "There's no money left," her mother insisted. "You'll have to figure it out yourself." Ellie nodded slowly. "Okay," she whispered. "I'll figure it out." And she did, by signing federal loans she was terrified to owe. College became a battlefield Ellie faced alone. The coursework didn't scare her, algorithms and data structures made sense. But survival did. She worked evenings at a small diner, coming home after midnight smelling like fries and coffee. On weekends she worked the night shift at a 24-hour gym, wiping down machines while other students laughed in groups, heading to parties she never had time for. She lived on ramen and peanut butter sandwiches, rotating the same few shirts and the same 2 pairs of jeans until the fabric thinned. She slept 4 hours a night, sometimes less. One afternoon a classmate invited her to a study group. "We meet after dinner," he said. Ellie forced a smile. "I'd love to, but I have work." He always had work. While others built memories, Ellie built resilience. And deep down a small voice kept whispering, "One day this will pay off." The summer after her second year, exhaustion finally caught up with her. Ellie caught the flu and tried to push through it, but during a busy shift at the diner she fainted mid-sentence while taking someone's order. When she woke up in the back office, her manager was hovering over her. "Ellie, you can't work like this," he said. She shook her head. "I need the hours." But she still lost 3 days of work, and that meant her rent was short by $300. For the first time in years she broke her own rule and called her mother. Her voice trembled. "Mom, I'm really sorry to ask, but I'm short on rent because I got sick. Can you lend me $300? I'll pay you back." Her mother sighed heavily. "Ellie, I just sent Luke money for his rent. I can't do extra right now. Ask your roommates." Ellie stared at the cracked wall in the gym's break room. "Okay," she whispered. "Thanks anyway." After she hung up, she let herself cry quietly, quickly then wiped her face, sold her only designer coat and paid her rent. 4 years later, Ellie graduated with a 3.8 GPA, alone. She walked across the stage in her rented cap and gown, scanning the crowd out of instinct even though she already knew. No mother. No brother. No family. She held her diploma tightly and forced herself not to look again. That evening she returned to her tiny apartment, sat on the edge of her bed and allowed one silent tear to fall, not out of sadness but out of closure. A week later a card arrived in the mail from her mother. The handwriting looked rushed. "Congratulations on graduating. Sorry we couldn't make it. Luke had a job interview. Love, Mom." Ellie reread the note twice then dropped it into the trash. She had already learned the hard truth. Her family celebrated only one child and it wasn't her. She didn't call. She didn't text. She let the silence remain. Life finally shifted when Ellie landed her first real job, a junior developer position at a small tech startup called Nova Cloud Systems. The pay wasn't huge, but it was enough to survive without 2 jobs. For the first time she felt like she was stepping into the life she'd always imagined. She found a cramped apartment with 3 roommates, squeezed a twin bed into a room the size of a closet, and felt genuinely proud. At work she arrived early, stayed late and soaked in every challenge her team threw at her. Her lunch was always the same, a turkey sandwich, an apple and determination. While her coworkers went out for drinks, Ellie went home to study new programming tools. "You work too hard," one teammate teased. Ellie smiled. "One day it will be worth it." She didn't know yet how right she was, but she was about to find out. Ellie proved herself quickly at Nova Cloud. 6 months in she fixed a performance issue that no one else could figure out. A year later she redesigned a major part of their system that nearly doubled efficiency. "You're a machine," her manager joked one day. Ellie laughed softly. "No. I'm just used to working harder than everyone else." Promotions came steadily. Team lead at 24, development manager at 25, and director of engineering not long after. By 26 she was named chief technology officer. Her mother didn't know. Luke didn't know. No one in her family had ever asked. And Ellie didn't feel the need to tell them. Her achievements were hers, earned without applause, built from years of surviving on grit. Her student loans vanished next. She made her last payment on a rainy Thursday evening, sitting in her office staring at the confirmation screen. Her eyes stung as she whispered, "I actually did it." No family member had ever helped her, not a dollar, not even encouragement, and yet somehow she'd reached the finish line. Over the next year Nova Cloud grew fast, raising funding rounds and gaining millions of users. Ellie was in every strategy meeting, every code review, every fire drill. Then a larger company made an offer to buy Nova Cloud. When the acquisition closed, Ellie's stock options years of patient saving turned into $1.4 million. She was 27 years old and financially free in a way she'd never imagined as a kid eating ramen behind a locked dorm door. 8 months later, Ellie stumbled onto something she had never expected to even consider: buying a house. A coworker mentioned his neighbor was selling a property just outside the city. Ellie went to look just for fun, expecting nothing. But when she pulled into the driveway, a long gravel path lined with tall trees, her breath caught. The house was breathtaking. 4,200 square feet, 5 bedrooms, a stone fireplace that stretched up 2 stories, carved wooden doors, and a terrace that overlooked a quiet stream. She walked through each room slowly, her hand brushing across polished floors she never thought she'd own. The asking price was $875,000. A year ago she would have laughed. No, she could buy it cash. And she did. 2 weeks later she held the keys to a life she had built entirely alone. The only person she told was her cousin, Mia, the one person outside her old life who had ever cared. Mia helped her move, dragging boxes across hardwood floors and running excitedly from room to room. "Ellie, this house looks like a movie," she said, twirling on the terrace. Ellie smiled. "Yeah, it feels unreal." She adopted a shelter dog, a big mutt named Bruno who followed her everywhere. She planted a garden. She joined a hiking group. She made new friends who didn't know her as the forgotten child, but simply as Ellie, the confident CTO who loved forests and long conversations. She visited her mother only on major holidays, and even then she stayed quiet and small, the role she'd learned to perform. But everything changed the day Luke bought a house. The family chat exploded with excitement. Their mother planned a party with balloons and banners that said, "Congratulations, Luke." Ellie showed up quietly, blending into the background as usual. Luke bragged loudly about his 4-bedroom home, the amazing deal, the neighborhood, the mortgage terms. Ellie simply nodded and ate potato salad. But later she overheard Luke in the kitchen asking their mother for another $10,000 for his down payment. "I know you already gave me 15, he said, "but I'm still short." Their mother hesitated, then sighed, defeated. "Luke, we'll figure it out." Ellie felt something sharp twist inside her. She remembered begging for $300 in college while her mother casually handed Luke thousands. That night Ellie couldn't sleep. Something felt wrong. Her instincts, sharp, technical, trained by years of problem-solving, pushed her to dig. So she used her skills and searched through public records and financial traces. What she found was shocking. Luke had 5 credit cards, totaling $48,000 in debt. His credit score was 580. He had an overdue car loan and 2 personal loans totaling $20,000. He was drowning deeply, silently, and dangerously. And their mother had no idea she was funding a sinking ship. Ellie sat back in her chair, staring at the screen. After all these years of watching Luke get everything, she was looking at the truth. He wasn't thriving, he was crumbling. When Thanksgiving came, Luke and his girlfriend invited the family to their new home for a housewarming dinner. Ellie didn't plan to say a word. She simply put on a navy blue suit, styled her hair, and drove her paid-off car to their cookie-cutter neighborhood. Inside, 15 relatives buzzed around Luke like bees around sugar. "Isn't it beautiful?" her mother said proudly. Ellie glanced at the laminate countertops. "It's nice," she replied politely. But things shifted at dinner when Luke raised a glass and announced he and his girlfriend planned to start trying for a baby. Their mother burst into happy tears before turning to Ellie with a tight smile. "And you, Ellie, when are you going to settle down? You can't live alone forever in that tiny apartment." Ellie set down her fork calmly. "I actually settled down 8 months ago," she said. The table quieted. "What?" her mother asked. "I bought a house," Ellie said. "A real house. 5 bedrooms. 3 acres of land. A terrace overlooking a stream. Paid in cash." Luke snorted. "No, you didn't. You can't afford that." Ellie looked at him evenly. "Luke, your credit score is 580. You're drowning in debt. Do you really want to talk about who can afford what?" Her aunt gasped softly. Luke went pale. "How do you know about that?" Ellie shrugged. "I'm a CTO. I know how to find things." Her mother stood angrily. "Ellie, how dare you embarrass your brother?" Ellie looked at her with years of swallowed pain rising to the surface. "I didn't embarrass him. I told the truth. Something none of you ever wanted to hear. Luke slammed his hand on the table. You think you're better than me? Ellie shook her head. No. I just stopped letting you pretend you're better than me. Her mother pointed at the door. Get out. Ellie picked up her coat calmly. If you had ever paid attention to me even once, you would have known all of this already. Her drive home was quiet. Bruno greeted her at the door, tail wagging wildly. Ellie knelt beside him, burying her face in his fur while her body shook, not with fear but release. She showered, changed into sweatpants, made tea and stepped onto her terrace. The moonlight shimmered on the stream. Her phone buzzed nonstop. Her mother, Luke, aunts, uncles. She didn't answer any of them. I don't owe them anything, she whispered into the dark. For the first time in years she slept peacefully. 2 weeks later her phone rang again. This time she answered. Her mother's voice trembled. Ellie, we need to talk about Luke. Not an apology. Not acknowledgement. Just Luke. Always Luke. He's behind on his mortgage, she continued. The bank might foreclose. I didn't realize I co-signed his loan. I could lose my house. Ellie, can you help? You're doing so well. Please. Ellie stared out her window at the land she had earned through years of suffering. No, she said simply. Ellie, he's your brother. Ellie finally felt something inside her settle. Where was family when I needed $300? When I collapsed at work? When I graduated alone? You forgot I existed until you needed something. The answer is no. Her mother begged, but Ellie hung up gently, then blocked her number, along with Luke's and the relatives who had texted demanding she step up. She sat on the floor of her living room, breathing slowly. Bruno nudged her hand with his nose. She stroked his fur and whispered, I'm choosing peace. I'm choosing myself. He meant it. For the first time in her life, she wasn't a shadow trying to earn a place in a family that never saw her. Ellie's world grew quieter in the months that followed. She worked, cooked, hiked and spent time with friends who liked her for who she was, not for who she compared to Luke. She saw Mia often. They cooked dinner together, laughed for hours and talked about life. One evening Mia looked at her and said, You seem happy. Really happy. Ellie nodded. For the first time I don't feel like I'm chasing something I'll never catch. I'm just living. 3 months after Thanksgiving, Mia informed her that Luke's house had officially gone into foreclosure. He'd moved back in with their mother. Their mother was picking up extra shifts trying to pay the debt she'd taken on for him. Neither of them reached out to Ellie again. And Ellie didn't feel guilty, not even a little. She had spent her entire life caring about people who never cared enough to show up for her. You can't lose what was never yours, she said softly one night, watching snow fall across her yard. And she meant every word. Ellie's life moved forward steadily, beautifully, freely. She worked on new projects at her company, fell in love with quiet mornings on her terrace, and sometimes even allowed herself to imagine a future with someone kind she'd recently started dating. She no longer waited for her mother's approval or Luke's acknowledgement. She no longer questioned her worth. Everything she had she earned. Everything she let go she released with peace. One evening, Bruno curled at her feet while she watched the sunset burn orange across her land. Ellie finally understood. She wasn't the forgotten child. She was the one who chose herself. And that choice changed everything. Thanks you for watching and please remember to tell us where you are watching from today. Hit the like button, comment and subscribe to this channel for more of this.